Welcome to the deep dive. You've given us your research, and, well, our job is to dig through it.
Yep. We pull out the most interesting bits, the key stuff, so you get the core understanding without drowning in details.
Think of it as your fast track, your shortcut to getting really clued in on the topic.
And today, we are diving headfirst into Jackie Chan adventures. Specifically, the animated Jackie Chan himself.
That's right. And our guide for this, the fantastic info you sent over from the Jackie Chan Adventures Wiki, super detailed stuff.
So let's paint the picture. Animated Jackie. He's this skilled archaeologist in San Francisco, lives with his older relative, just called Uncle.
Pretty normal life, exploring tombs,
Yeah.
until, bam, Captain Black from Section 13 shows up.
Right, needs his help.
Yeah.
There's this group, the Dark Hand, trying to grab these 12 talismans, powerful magic items.
And if that wasn't enough upheaval, his 12-year-old niece, well, technically first cousin once removed, comes to live and study with him.
Suddenly, life gets way more action-packed than just ancient artifacts.
So our mission here is to really get to know this Jackie. What makes him tick?
How does he stack up against the real Jackie Chan?
Yeah.
And, what makes him such a great cartoon hero?
Okay, so before all the world saving, he was an archaeologist. A scholar, really.
Yeah, digging in tombs, studying history, probably happier with, like, a brush than a fist fight.
So what does that starting point tell us about him?
Well, it sets up this great contrast, doesn't it? He values knowledge, preservation, methodical work.
And then he's thrown into this high-stakes world of magic and fighting.
Exactly. Right out of his comfort zone. It immediately paints him as maybe a reluctant hero, capable but not exactly seeking out trouble.
And then there's Jade. She arrives, and it's not just about finding talismans anymore.
Oh, totally. He's suddenly a guardian. That adds this whole other layer.
How does that change things for him, his decisions?
It becomes a huge motivator, his need to protect Jade, even when he's hesitant about the danger himself.
Seeing her at risk pushes him.
Yeah. It really highlights that caring side, his sense of responsibility. It goes beyond just recovering ancient objects.
It's interesting, though, that he's reluctant at first about Section 13. He has this life, this career he loves. What do you think finally pushes him over the edge to actually take on this, global threat?
I think deep down is his sense of right and wrong. Prefers the quiet life, sure.
But the talismans.
The consequences of them falling into the wrong hands,
Oh,
it's just too big to ignore.
So duty calls, even if he didn't exactly volunteer.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He realizes he can make a difference,
Yeah.
even if he'd rather be in the library.
Okay, personality. The wiki paints him as, well, really nice. Mild-mannered, modest, humble.
Yeah, almost the opposite of your typical action hero stereotype.
How does that work for him? Why is that appealing?
I think that's a huge part of his charm. He feels real relatable because he's humble.
Not some arrogant show-off?
Right. Even with all his skills, he's just grounded. You root for him because he's a good guy, trying his best, often, despite being scared.
And he's so patient with Uncle, and especially Jade. Even when she's, let's just say, finding trouble enthusiastically.
Oh, absolutely. Those interactions.
Yeah.
That's where so much of the heart and humor comes from.
His reactions to her, always saying, it's too dangerous.
It's classic.
Yeah.
Exasperated, but, deep down, really loving. It shows him growing as a guardian, too.
Trying to find that balance. Protection versus letting her learn.
And he's brilliant, right? Knows history, knows martial arts. But the wiki also mentions he's sometimes too trusting.
Ooh, that sounds like a weakness. Could lead to trouble.
For sure. It opens the door for, betrayal, deception. Forces him to maybe get a bit more cynical. Or at least more cautious about people.
A learning curve.
Definitely character development fodder. He has to learn who to trust.
But then there's the tiger talisman. Splitting him into yin and yang. That sounds like a major personality shift.
Oh, it's dramatic. Completely different from his usual mellow self.
What was the show exploring there, do you think? That duality?
I think it's all about balance. It takes his normal traits and just cranks them up to 11.
So the yin side is?
Super passive, almost weak-minded, very sensitive. And the yang,
Uh-oh.
fight-loving, totally selfish, rude, but also has this weird foresight.
Wow. So it highlights how the real Jackie, the balanced one, is the effective one.
Exactly. You need the caution and the courage, the smarts, and the fighting skill.
Yeah.
It's like a visual representation of needing that inner balance.
Let's look at his backstory a bit. Moved from Hong Kong, lived with Uncle before he was 12. started martial arts young.
Right. Those early years definitely shaped him.
How so?
Well, the martial arts training is obvious. That's where the skills come from. Living with Uncle probably instilled that sense of tradition, the wisdom Uncle dishes out.
And maybe moving to the U.S. young made him adaptable.
Could be. Adaptable, maybe resilient.
And he knew Captain Black before, right? They hadn't seen each other in years, but there was history.
Yeah, 6 years, apparently. But that pre-existing relationship is important.
Makes sense why Black would recruit him.
Exactly. It's not random. There's trust, respect already there. Gives Jackie a solid ally inside Section 13 right from the start.
Okay, skills. He's a martial arts master, super agile, but he doesn't like to fight.
Nope. Prefers not to unless he absolutely has to. Fits perfectly with that cautious nature we talked about.
So how does his fighting style reflect that?
It's very acrobatic, kung fu based, but emphasizes agility, technique, not just punching hard.
More about defense and using the environment.
Totally. He's strategic, resourceful. It's like a thinking person's way of fighting, which makes sense for an archaeologist.
And the wiki says he learns from opponents, adapts his style.
Yeah, which is pretty smart. Keeps the fights interesting and shows he's not just relying on the same moves. He's observing, analyzing.
Can you give an example, maybe with someone like Toru?
Well, Toru starts out as this huge, strong enforcer, right? Jackie probably couldn't match him strength for strength.
So you'd have to adapt.
Yeah, he'd watch Toru, figure out his patterns, maybe use speed, agility, find weak spots to overcome that sheer power. Shows growth, strategy under pressure.
But he can unleash, right? When he gets angry, or maybe that yang side takes over. High-flying kicks.
Oh yeah, when he's pushed or really mad, the intensity definitely ramps up. It shows he has that power. He just chooses not to use it lightly.
Raises the stakes. And beyond the fighting, he's got surprising strength, amazing reflexes.
Carrying bathtubs, catching falling stuff, keeping up with cars.
Almost superhuman sometimes.
It definitely leans into the cartoon aspect, you know?
Yeah.
Makes the action bigger, more visually exciting. Part of the fun.
And the way he uses random objects as weapons. Windshield wipers, soup ladles, it's iconic.
It's brilliant. Adds so much humor and cleverness to the fights.
Less about pure violence, more about quick thinking.
Exactly. Shows he relies on his wits, not just fancy gadgets. He uses what's around him.
But he's not perfect. He gets hurt, sometimes by his own actions. Recklessness.
Yeah. Running into walls, hitting poles. It's actually pretty funny.
Humanizing, too. Makes him less of a flawless machine.
Totally. Shows he makes mistakes, gets frustrated, just like anyone. Relatable.
And he feels pain. Plus, he has no magic potential himself. In a world full of magic.
Those are big limitations.
Yeah.
It means the stakes feel real. He can't just wave a wand.
He has to rely on skill, brains.
And grit. It makes his victories feel more earned, I think. He's fundamentally human against these often supernatural odds.
Let's hit some key quotes. Courage without wisdom is foolishness. That sounds like his personal motto.
Absolutely. Sums up his cautious, think-first approach, often a contrast to Jade's leap before you look.
And the constant, it's too dangerous, directed at Jade.
You gotta have that one. It's their dynamic in a nutshell. Shows his protective side, even if she rarely listens.
Then there's, the greatest victory is the battle not fought.
Again, emphasizes that reluctance. He's a fighter, but he doesn't want to be. Peace is the goal.
And the classic archaeologist line, no, this belongs in a museum.
Perfect. That's his core identity shining through, even when everything's exploding around him.
Yeah. Okay, some fun trivia. He and Jade are in every single episode, all 95.
Wow, yeah. That really shows they are the show. Their relationship is central.
And it's interesting how different this animated version as younger grew up in the U.S.
Yeah, it's definitely a loose adaptation, not a biography.
They took the essence, maybe? The action, the humor?
Exactly. Reimagined it for this specific cartoon context.
The sleepwalking thing is just random and funny.
Yeah. And being slightly awkward around attractive women.
Yeah.
Adds that touch of vulnerability.
Makes him feel more rounded, less like just an action figure.
Right. These little quirks matter.
Knowing astronomy, but apparently not French, that's a weird specific detail.
Adds a bit of quirky inconsistency, maybe. Keeps him from being knowledgeable about everything.
And all the movie references. The Rush Hour line, Drunken Fist, episode titles.
Oh yeah, tons of Easter eggs for fans of the real Jackie Chan's films. A real homage.
Plus, the running gag with his cell phone always getting destroyed. So relatable.
Very much so. And his clothes often look like outfits the real Jackie wore in movies.
Nice visual tie-in. And the whole traveling for artifacts, bumping into bad guys plot.
Definitely got those Indiana Jones adventure vibes.
Yeah.
Fits the genre.
The Chinese bamboo flute in his music is a nice touch, too.
Adds to the atmosphere. Connects to his heritage subtly.
Last couple points. Jade having more freedom with him than back home says something about his parenting style, maybe?
Perhaps unintentionally laid back, yeah. And friends calling him Jackie, enemies calling him Chan.
Neat detail. Shows relationship shifts, like with Toru.
It's a subtle indicator of who's on his side and how relationships evolve.
So, wrapping it up, this animated Jackie Chan, he's quite the package.
Skilled fighter, smart archaeologist, but also, kind of doesn't want to be the hero.
Super protective of Jade, prone to humorous injuries.
Yeah, he really captures that blend of action and comedy the real Jackie Chan is known for, even in this younger, Americanized cartoon version.
It's a great example of taking someone famous and translating them effectively to animation. Kept the spirit, added new stuff.
It really worked.
Which makes you think, right? Jackie Chan Adventures blends action, comedy, history, mythology, things that maybe don't seem like they'd fit together.
But they create something really engaging.
So, maybe final thought for you listening. What other shows or stories mix seemingly disparate elements like that? Action and philosophy, sci-fi and romance. What weird combinations make your favorite narratives tick?
Something to ponder. Until next time.
Keep digging deep.